everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us, as always, is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show, coming to you from right here at the AMC Movie News Studios here in Burbank, California. I still don't know how LeBron James won that basketball game last night. I still have no idea.
It's a mystery. Also here is writer-director John Schnepp.
I saw LeBron James yesterday when I was at CatCon LA. What's up? Totally hanging out with a little bub, a bunch of other weird cat products, surrounded by sweaty cat nerds. It was insane. I lasted about 15 minutes, had a bolt. I was like, Holly, I'll see you later. I was sweating profusely. Cat products up to my... It was insane, but it was fun. If you like cats or love cats or need to be around thousands of products involving cats, go to next year's CatCon LA.
Also, here's AMC's Mark Ellis.
I've never heard a bigger discrepancy in two men's Sundays than one watching an NBA game and one going to CatCon. I was the former, but I also am a cat person. But my God, LeBron, what a performance last night.
I'm still calling Warriors in 5. I'm still calling Warriors in 5.
I think the Warriors are going to win this series, but LeBron showed me another level of heart, as did a lot of the cats yesterday at the convention.
Yes. When you say the Warriors, are you talking about that movie that Walter Hill directed?
Yes.
Because I don't know what anything else that you would be called the Warriors.
Remake coming. All right, what's first up?
The box office results are in for the weekend, and it was a good one for Melissa McCarthy and director Paul Feig, as their new film Spy took the #1 spot with $30 million. Falling to second spot was the earthquake action film San Andreas, making $26.4 million in its second week. In the #3 spot is the new horror film Insidious Chapter 3, making $20 million on its opening weekend. At #4 is Entourage, making $10.4 million, and rounding out the top 5 is Mad Max Fury Road, making $7.9 million. John, what stands out to you in the box office results?
A couple things stand out to me. Congratulations to Paul Feig for Spy. You know, it wasn't, I think, the weakest of the Paul Feig movies, but I enjoyed it. I laughed. They had a number of good laughs, and I walked out legitimately entertained. Man, I thought Entourage should do better than 10. I really did. And it honestly, I liked the film. I thought it deserved better than 10, but forget that. Just going back, I mean, super popular TV show, really good pop culture following, all that kind of stuff. It just goes to show you, man, it's hard to translate TV to the movies, I guess. But the other thing that really stands out to me is this, you know, and this goes into a larger topic, and I'll save it for an editorial sometime, but I'll just give you a little brief introduction. So you got Mad Max Fury Road just crossed 300 million worldwide. Right. Which is great, and it dropped down to single digits on its local domestic box office. But it got me thinking. You know, I looked back at Road Warrior or Mad Max 2, right? Mad Max Fury Road cost $150 million to make. $150 million. Anybody want to take adjusted for inflation? Okay, adjusted for inflation. What Road Warrior cost? Anyway, Ashley, let's start with you. Take a wild guess on what the Road Warrior made in 1982 or 1983, I think. How much that movie cost to make? Wild guess.
$4 bajillion.
$4 bajillion is the first guess.
Adjusted for inflation, I'm going to say $18 million.
Okay, Schnepp.
Adjusted for inflation, I'm going to say $7.5 million.
And the winner is Schnepp. The actual cost was, adjusted for inflation, $3.4 million.
Oh my God.
I was way off.
Today, at the time, it was $1.6 million US to make that movie. Today, that would be 3.4. And the new one costs $150 million. I'm going to make an entirely separate editorial in this. What the F, Hollywood? Seriously, like, you've got to get your spending under control. You know how much? Then I got me go. You know how much Top Gun, adjusted for inflation, how much Top Gun cost to make?
That's a good movie. I'm going to say $25 million.
I'll say 10.
You're the closest, $30 million.
Wow.
Top Gun with all those live, real air battles going on. $30 million. What on earth is going on? Something's got to happen. That's a totally another issue. Schnepp, you saw the box office results. What stands out to you?
What stood out to me is we're talking about Fury Road's hanging in there. That kicked Avengers off. Avengers not in the top 5 now, but yet Fury Road is still hanging in with 5th. I think we were talking. It's going to be like a Kingsman. It's going to stick around. I think it'll still be 5 next week, just because word of mouth, and a lot of people have still not seen it yet. And
I don't think it'll be 5 next week.
No,
no.
What comes out next week?
Well, there's
that little dinosaur movie.
That little dinosaur movie's coming.
And Inside Out.
Yeah, no, Inside Out's the week after.
I think because of that, I think maybe it can stay in the top 5. Maybe it can.
It's good counter programming to all that stuff.
Yeah,
but
it really is.
I'm really happy that I didn't see Spy yet, but I'm going to see it this weekend. So I'm happy that everyone said it was really funny. A lot of the reviews said it was great, and it seems like the audience really loves it. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm happy. I'm always happy to see Melissa McCarthy and Paul Feig make another really funny film together. Entourage.
Statham's great in that movie, by the way.
I
Statham
cannot
is
wait.
really
And
great in
Jude
that
Law,
movie.
and Rose Byrne. It's just got a great cast. Entourage. It makes sense to me that it didn't make any. That it's not going to be a big hit. I kind of look at Entourage. Even though I liked the first couple seasons, I stopped watching it. I think after season 4, and it became a show that's sort of like Cheers. Like if there was a Cheers movie or MASH. I mean, just think about it. If you put it in context, where there's a series that went on.
90% of our audience have no idea about what shows you're talking
Guys,
about.
these are television shows that happened back in the 80s and 90s. Let me give you another one that you probably don't know. The Honeymooners. No, they already made a movie with the Honeymooners. So I'm just saying, like, a series that went on for a long time, and then there was a large gap of time, and then they made a movie. It feels like, why?
But there's a recent example of that doing well, which is Sex and the City, which was also an HBO show, and that movie did very well at the box office. I think the sequel even did okay opening weekend, even though it was a total train wreck of a film. So Entourage is surprising to me because it was projected around the $18 to $20 million mark initially, and I thought that was a low number. So $10 million, that's a huge disappointment.
Well, Insidious 3 did very well. I think that caught a lot of
And
people's surprise.
it opened even bigger on Friday. Like, a lot of people wanted to see Insidious 3, and then it did usually what horror movies do. That, I don't think it's going to hold that strong next week. I think Insidious is going to have like a San Andreas 55-60% drop from week 1 to week 2, especially with Jurassic Park coming into theaters. But I was happy to see Insidious 3 do as well as it did because it's a scary movie. It's not the best storytelling, but it continues the franchise. It actually starts a franchise. It's a prequel, and I found it legitimately terrifying.
What about, I mean, Sex and the City, though, there wasn't as much of a gap between Entourage season 7 and this movie. Sex and the City ended, and then 2 years later, they had a movie.
That was going to be my next question. I was going to say, had Entourage opened a full year ago, like a year ago today, would we have seen a better result than 10 million?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
I think
they
so,
waited
but
too
adjusted
long.
for inflation, maybe it was the same.
All right, what's next?
The first official trailer for the upcoming Ridley Scott film, The Martian, has hit the web. During a manned mission to Mars, astronaut Mark Watney, played by Matt Damon, is presumed dead after a fierce storm and left behind by his crew. But Watney has survived and finds himself stranded and alone on the hostile planet. With only meager supplies, he must draw upon his ingenuity, wit, and spirit to subsist and find a way to signal Earth that he is alive. The film also stars Jessica Chastain, Kristen Wiig, Kate Mara, Michael Pena, Jeff Daniels, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. The Martian hits AMC theaters on November 25th. Schnepp, what did you think of the first trailer for The Martian?
I really liked it. I mean, the only issue that I had is that I feel like, as a lot of new trailers are doing, for some reason, they feel like they have to show the entire film and all of the beats that happen within the film, except maybe the last 5 minutes or something. So I'd say I cannot wait to see the film. I want to forget that I saw the trailer. It looks fantastic. It looks like it's a really tense, exciting film. It looks like it's incredibly well directed. Matt Damon looks amazing in it. I just don't want, I'm tired of the studios telling you the entire film before you get to see it. There's so many different ways to create that tension and show what the film's about without giving away 5 to 6 major plot points in a trailer. So to me, that's the upsetting thing to me, is like, I was really excited to see The Martian. Couldn't wait to see this trailer. I watched the trailer, still excited to see it, but now I feel like I know almost too much, and I would like studios to stop treating the audience like they're stupid apes and just get your marketing department to make a better trailer like they used to make. Nowadays, it's like, just show them everything. And I don't know whether that's like studio bean counters are like, we found that if you show too much of the film, or I don't know why this is a thing that's happening more and more, but I'd like to see it happen less. And The Martian's a perfect example of just like showing way too much. But I love the trailer. I just don't want to see the whole movie.
I start my statement by saying guffaw to you, sir. I thought this trailer was fantastic. It totally hooked me in. Nothing happened in this trailer that I didn't already know wasn't going to happen in this trailer, okay? Like, there are a few points it shows. Okay, we know he gets stranded on Mars, so the trailers show that. We know that. Right. He's got to try to survive, okay? We show that he's being ingenuity, blah, blah, blah. Right. He's got to send out a signal to get help. We know that. The only really point here, and why I keep saying points, you'll see what I'm saying here, is that, okay, so the crew's got to decide they're going to turn around and go get him back. predictable. We knew that already. But
No, we didn't know that, actually.
I come on.
Well, sorry, I didn't know you
if
read
we
the book or something.
No, I didn't. But I mean, if we talked about it, you
No,
would say, yeah,
I
this
would
is
not.
probably what's happening.
I would say if The Martian, before seeing the trailer, I would have said it's about him trying to survive on Mars. I didn't know anything about a crew trying to find him back, go back to get him. I didn't know about NASA or whatever, the Space Bureau lying and saying he's dead and then like trying to cover that up.
Well, I have a feeling they thought he was dead. I have a feeling at the beginning they think he's
Right,
dead.
or then
but
they
one of my
find
point
out.
is when I talk about the points. Okay, so we know this point, what this point. To me, the important stuff and what really makes this movie is not this point and this point. It's the line in between, and it's all the storytelling that goes into that point. And you and I were talking pre-show about that Terminator trailer and how that Jason Clarke reveal. We both think that actually all happens in the first act.
Right.
I got a feeling that whole thing too about setting up the signal at some point the crew's got to decide to turn and come back. I got a feeling that happens pretty early in the movie. I think the chunk of the movie is going to be him surviving until they get back to him and their journey to get back to him. I mean, neither of us read the book, so I don't really know. But all I know is that for me, it totally got me. If the purpose of a trailer is to get me excited for a movie to want to go see it, for me personally, it did it in spades. Anyway, Mark, break the tie.
To your guffaw, I say guffaw to you, sir, and I agree with Schnepp. This totally southpawed us again. If you haven't seen this trailer yet, do not see this trailer.
Southpawed.
You do not need to watch this
See the
before
trailer.
you go see the movie. Because, yes, we knew a lot of these plot points. You don't have to show it to me over the course of 3 minutes like they did. And again, I know Matt Damon gets stranded on Mars. That's the plot. I don't know any of this other stuff. I don't know how they're handling it on Earth. I don't know how he's handling it there. They gave away way too many details on this, and it's not some unknown movie. It's a Ridley Scott film with a cast that looks like they took them off the set of Entourage because it's got that many famous people in it. I'm already going to go see this movie.
Famous people in it.
I don't need to see this much in a trailer. This is upsetting to me. And again, if you haven't seen it yet, I caution you, you do not need to see this trailer. It's going to spoil some stuff for you.
Well, as people who don't know the movie, we don't know if it spoils anything. I will
It
say this
certainly
stuff.
feels like it's.
And yeah, no,
felt like it did.
I can't argue that.
It does look like a good movie, though.
It looks fantastic.
I-
I'm still going to see it. It's
Yeah.
the trailer didn't stop me from wanting to see
Right.
it. It just irritated me that I was like, can you please stop with all the beat by beat kind of condensed stuff? I was like, I'm in. Within the first minute, I'm already in.
I will
just
say
don't-
this though too. This is the first Ridley Scott film, and 10 years ago, who would you ever thought you'd say something like this? This is the first Ridley Scott film in a while I'm excited about because look, I'm one of the people who I did not like Prometheus at all. Then you're talking about, I think, Body of Lies, Robin Hood, The Counselor. It has not been a good run for Ridley Scott. And I saw this trailer, I'm like, he's back.
But wait a sec. When you saw that first Prometheus trailer, that was like almost an exact duplicate of the Alien trailer with that same with the weird screaming and the lights flashing. It was a really exciting trailer.
Yeah, I just think, for a plot like this where somebody's getting stranded on a planet, you could have done a teaser trailer so exciting where your heart stops. You're like, oh my God, I need to see this because I need to see what happens to this guy.
Yeah.
And then they showed us a lot of what's happening to this guy. So maybe it all happens in the first act. It's a bummer walking in there. Same thing with Terminator Genesis. I think that's going to happen early on, but still, I didn't need to know that.
All right, folks. Now we've reached that part of the show for what is it? Buy and sell. We reached the part of the show for buy and sell. Here's how this works. In front of her ass, she's got a couple of other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then Mark, Schnepp, and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Lionsgate is fast-tracking their new Robin Hood film, Robin Hood Origins, and have hired TV director Otto Bathurst to helm the project. Coming Soon described it as an origin story in the vein of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. This new take on the folk hero finds Robin Hood returning from the Crusades to discover a Sherwood forest rife with corruption and evil. Teaming with a band of outlaws, he takes matters into his own hands to set things right with very little merrymaking along the way. Part of the reason Lionsgate is fast-tracking the project is that no less than 3 other studios are also developing Robin Hood films. Warner Brothers is developing a futuristic take called Hood. Sony is said to be developing a full Robin Hood shared universe, and Disney is currently developing Nottingham and Hood. Mark Barisell, Lionsgate fast-tracking Robin Hood Origins.
For Lionsgate, I buy it. I mean, if you got that much competition, you better get your Robin Hood movie out before everybody else gets their Robin Hood movie out. This film sounds like something that I would be interested in seeing, although I'm worried that I have seen this before. It seems like that we've runged up every superhero origin story we possibly can. So where else can we go? I know, Robin Hood. Which, that guy started again. And no merrymaking? Really? A lack
They're
of...
called the Merry Men.
They better be merry at some point during this film. So I buy that it's happening. I would sell the fact that anybody's interested in seeing this much Robin Hood, especially with Sony creating a shared universe of Robin Hood. I don't know what demographic that's going to be aimed towards, if that's going to be a more kid-friendly or a more, adult action-oriented Robin Hood. But I like Robin Hood. I think it's a great story. I didn't like the Ridley Scott one that much, although that film seemed like it set up the origin story pretty well. So now we have to see another one. I'm not that excited about it, but I buy that Lionsgate is making the right play here.
Schnapp.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the shared universe that Sony is building, like the little John movie and the Maid Marian film.
Will Scarlet, the Will Scarlet film.
That is
Friar Tuck screwball comedy.
The dumbest thing. When I read that this morning, I was like, that is the dumbest thing. I read it twice. I'm like, Sony's shared universe Robin Hood. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, is Charlemagne going to make a cameo in one of them?
We've really got an expanded Robin Hood universe. We've mapped it out to 9 films. I'm like, what? It's just ridiculous. It sounds stupid. So I'm excited about the Hood futuristic one. That sounds kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what? Robin Hood's always a fun adventure, and it also made me laugh. They're going dark like Nolan's Dark Knight. I'm like, really? Like, you have to use that comparison for Robin Hood?
Robin Hood's going to have a butler named Alfred in the film.
It's going to be real dark. Merry men. They're all dark. Everything's spooky.
Stop laughing, guys. This is serious.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Robin Hood talks like this. Yeah.
let me play.
Where is he? Where's the gold?
Where's Maid Marian?
Yeah.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second, all right? With the Sony shared universe thing, okay, think about it for a second. King Richard off in the Crusades. There's a film you could do there about that, right? And then you have your traditional Robin Hood thing. Right. There have been a lot of attempts to get a Sheriff of Nottingham film, right? So, there's 3 possible films that could, by definition, be a shared universe. That being said, I don't buy that. I sell everything about this. I sell absolutely everything about. First of all, what brain trust that makes 7 figures came up with the frickin' name Robin Hood effing Origins? Seriously, what brain trust came up with that? Morons. Absolute morons. That is the stupidest title for something like this. Oh, and we're Lionsgate. And by the way, I like Lionsgate a lot, okay? But call it what it is. We're Lionsgate. Let's see, 3 other studios got Robin Hoods coming out. Let's make one too. Stupid. This is absolutely stupid. There's nothing fun about this. A futuristic one. Kate, that's a different take and all that. Get it? Shared universe Robin Hood? What? Robin Hood Origins? Like, what? I'm just losing faith here. To me, it's a sell.
There should be at least 5 or 6 of them. And by the way, I sell this. I forgot to say that.
Yeah, and again, shared universe, we don't know. That's not necessarily going to mean like Infinity War, where you're going to have tons of characters jumping in all these movies. But
what about Robin Hood in space?
Yeah.
It's called Rocket Robin Hood.
That'd be awesome.
Did you not see Rocket Robin Hood as a kid?
I want to see that.
You never saw Rocket Robin Hood as a kid?
Is that real? No.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Look it up.
Is that a Canadian thing?
I don't know if it's a Canadian thing,
It's
but
gotta
man,
be, 'cause it's
as
not
a
an
little kid,
American
I
thing.
watched Rocket Robin Hood, man.
Wow. Someone should be
It was set
remaking Rocket Robin Hood.
1,000 years in the future.
Matt Damon's lost on Mars, and only Robin Hood can save him.
Yes.
What it was one of those animated series where it was like they used the exact same sequence of cell animation about 18 times out of 30 shots, and then one other. It was just, it's great. Rocket Robin Hood, check it out. Okay, what's next?
As many of you know, the upcoming Lionsgate take on Power Rangers was recently pushed back 8 months from its original release date. In a recent interview with IGN, director Dean Israelite talked about his impressions of the script, saying the following: "I read the script and was really surprised by it and thought there was a really cool contemporary, mature but still playful, buoyant and fun take on the material, and was updated in a really interesting way. It had this wonderful character that's essential to going on a fantastic adventure. I was instantly drawn to it. Power Rangers is now set to hit AMC theaters on January 13, 2017. John Byerstall, the director's comments.
Sell. Although, though I'm selling it, let me just put a little asterisk beside there. I still believe there's a way to make this movie. While I still think it was the wrong idea for them to do it, I don't think it's a good idea for them to make this movie. I do believe there are ways you can do it that could make it pretty damn fun. But these comments, but what's he supposed to say? He's a guy who auditioned for the job and got it, and now he's saying, but he was like saying, yeah, it's dark yet light. It's funny yet serious. It's buoyant yet mature. It's like, yeah, okay.
Not saying anything.
This isn't Entourage. Okay. Anyway, so I'm just going to give the comments a sell. Mark.
As opposed to the merry men who are just not merry at all. They're never going to be
really
happy.
No merry.
We're tired of eating gruel.
You in that pink costume, that's too merry. Get out of here.
Get over here. All of a sudden, it's Mortal
Mary.
Kombat.
That would be a cool shared universe.
That's a shared universe. Yes.
I'm selling this, however. however, simply because it's not that I hate his comments, it's that I can't buy them. Like, if I'm using my hard-earned money to buy something, I'm not going to buy these comments because you're right, they sound generic. It sounds like anybody who's directing this script would say, like, I read it. Man, I was really what's he going to say?
Yeah.
I read it, and this
to be
is the
fair,
same
what's he
old
supposed
crap.
to say? You know?
Yeah, but
he
to be fair
yeah.
to me and my pocketbook, I'm not giving away my money to somebody who just says, "Oh no, it's gonna be action packed and it's gonna be funny too." You have to sell me on a Power Rangers movie. Unlike something where I grew up loving like Ninja Turtles, I would already be in on that. And
Or
I'm like,
Van
I
Halen
can't wait
the
to see
movie.
this. But Power Rangers, I don't care about, even though that short was cool on YouTube. So you have to make me interested in this. These comments failed to do that, sir.
I also sell these comments, and it's mainly because of the use of some of the words like buoyant. Should never be used.
Right.
You know, it's yet buoyant and effervescent at the same. It's like, what are you talking about?
flatulent yet
Liquid?
gassy.
Yeah, it seems to not be sinking yet stays afloat. You know, so it sounds like, what are you saying? It's a weirdly like, I don't know who wrote that press release form or whatever. Israelite, good luck on making the film. That's a weird photo too. Like, Ray, did you put that together where he's like hugging on the Power Ranger?
Really?
I did.
You know, I mean, and there's
What's up,
there's-
Amy Jo?
That's kind of the rub there. Is like the one that was the fan made Power Rangers film was kind of fun to see. Like, oh, it's an adult take, like an action packed kind of adult take on the Power Rangers, and I was like, wow, I would see that film. I wouldn't see this film, but I know that they're trying to aim it back to try to get those 7 or 8 year old kids to rebuy those toys.
You didn't think
or
that
something.
YouTube short could use a little more buoyancy?
Yeah, I think it definitely did not need any buoyancy.
You know what
It
could
was-
have used? A little bit of quality, I think, because that was awful. All right,
I
folks,
liked it.
We've reached that part of the show for mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Ashley, what's in the mailbag?
Chris Hogg writes, "Hey AMC crew, love your show and have been watching since the beginning. I
I see how we wrote crew.
Oh, hey.
I love it.
I heard a while ago that a biopic.
Shout at the devil.
Shout.
I'm
Let her
sorry,
read
go
the
ahead.
What is
question.
happening? I heard a while ago that a biopic about Motley Crue is in production. This was a couple of years ago, though. Is it still happening? Has anything been said? I think a movie about their story would be really fun and insane to watch on screen. Thanks.
Girls, girls, girls. I'm gonna send you my ball on the side of my girl. I'm on my way home, sweet home.
Hey, that was by Motley Crue. I'll have you know. That was Motley Crue.
Fantastic.
Here's the thing. Back in January, I can't remember the name of the studio. Another studio picked it up, and they were keeping the director that was already attached and saying, "Okay, yeah, we're developing this movie." But that was February, March, April, May, June. That's 5 months ago, and I haven't heard anything since. I still haven't read the book myself, but it's based on the book The
Dirt.
The Dirt. Thank you. Which is supposed to be really good and really interesting. Although, you know, members of the band said they read the screenplay and said, this thing's going to be triple R. I don't think they understand how movie ratings work. It's going to be triple R. But I've been fascinated to see this. I'm not big on biopics, normally speaking. I'm really normally not into biopics about musicians. I'm really not. But I think there are some stories with Motley Crue that would be really fun to see on screen. So I really want this film made. But as of right now, I mean, like I said, January, Stu said, yeah, we're doing it. And I haven't heard a word in 5 months. Have you guys heard anything at all?
I haven't heard anything, but I mean, I read the Dirt is one of the very few books that I've read not for scholastic needs that I just enjoyed, and it's fascinating. It's an incredible read. Myself, Mark Ellis wants to see this as a movie. I don't think it should be done though. And I'll tell you why, because when you read these stories, it's one thing to see them on a page. It's another thing to put a lot of this crap on screen. It's evil, it's misogynistic, it's sexist, people die. I mean, they have a terrible track record with interacting with other human beings. And some of it's cool, and it's just the rock excess of sex, drugs, and rock and roll aspect. There's a lot of other stuff going on with Motley Crue's past that I think that if you wanted to tell the stories faithfully, you have to include that stuff, but you don't necessarily want to see that stuff on screen. I mean, if Entourage was getting crap for being, oh man, it's a little sexist, imagine what the Motley Crue story is going to be. I mean, all you need to, if you read the book Bullwinkle,
Would it be triple R?
it would be quadruple R. Hit that symbol, Nick.
It would be so many X's I couldn't even begin to count them. I would love to see this as a biopic, but I think they should take all of those stories that you're talking about and tell them in a truthful way. I mean, I'm sure most of the crew is like, yeah, we were pretty evil back then. We did some really gross
They
things.
wrote the book.
I'm
so
just
they're
saying,
telling the stories.
Yeah, so they don't have any problems with it. So I would love to see those adapted. And I mean, the Sunset Strip, just the Sunset Boulevard and them at the time is a time capsule of everything that is hair metal, you know? And yet they surpassed and survived hair metal and became, you know, a successful band outside of Wasp and some of these other bands that were kind of stuck in the hair metal scene. So I would love to see this story told. I'm not saying it's definitely there's a lot of extreme scenes in their rise to fame and what they did, but that's kind of their story. I wouldn't mind seeing someone try to attempt to actually make it and not make it like a jokey bad comedy like, you know, Kiss Meets the Phantom. That shouldn't be Motley Crue's biopic. It should be like, look, these were a couple of young dudes who definitely did some scumbaggery and also, you know, became rock stars. So,
you know, in all the years that I've done this show, I never thought we would have a Wasp example made during the show. I think what they need to do is to take all these stories and make a shared universe. I think they need a Motley Crue shared universe.
No, not even Motley Crue, just the hair metal shared universe. Yeah.
You have all these fans like, but if Wasp was playing the show with Rad at the same time the Winger was on stage with Warren, that doesn't match up because they were both at the whiskey the same night.
No, but you see, whiskey, there were two different whiskeys. There was a whiskey here in Hollywood, and there was a whiskey in Glendale that nobody really knew about.
Glendale hadn't opened.
Was that on Earth 1 or Earth 2?
It was Earth 4. This is a hair metal shared universe between 6 Earths.
John can't wait to just go back and watch Rocket Robin Hood.
I want to watch Rocket Robin. Okay, what's next?
Justin Hastings writes, I was recently looking at the release dates for some upcoming sequels and wanted to get your opinion on something. Godzilla 2 is scheduled to come out in June of 2018, 4 years after the first movie. Pacific Rim 2 is coming out in August of 2017, 4 years after the first film. And we still don't have a release date for a sequel to 2012's Prometheus. Star Trek, Mission Impossible, and Bond might be able to get away with gaps like this, but they are already established franchises. What do you think?
Yeah, we were kind of touching on this a little bit earlier. I think you raised a great example in the thing. There are some brand names that are going to be relevant regardless of the passage of time. Mission Impossible, Star Trek, things like that. You're right. I do think they are waiting too long for Pacific Rim 2. I think that's one they probably should have struck a little bit sooner. But there's some works it doesn't work. We talked a little bit earlier, Entourage. I think that movie does 50% more at the box office if it comes out one calendar year ago, as opposed to now. I think they waited too long on that. That wasn't the only problem, but I think that is one of the things going into it. So I think you're right. I think there are some movies that simply wait too long, and there are some movies that can afford to wait that long. Godzilla, I think, is another one. It's Godzilla. Godzilla will still be the Godzilla name 3 years from now, whatever. But remember, one of the reasons they pushed Godzilla back was because they really wanted the director back, and he was doing Star Wars. So they said, okay, you know what? Instead of doing Godzilla without him, let's wait for another year, and they get Edwards back to do Godzilla again. So I agree with everything you said in the mail, actually. Schnepp, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree too. It's irksome, especially when you like, hey, look, Captain America, they're filming it right now and it comes out next year. It can be done. You don't have to wait 4 years. Somebody could start shooting Pacific Rim, Guillermo, start shooting Pacific Rim 2 right now, and it can come out in 2 years. It doesn't have to be 4 years. I guess they set these dates and they lock them in, so I don't know. It's irksome as the same with Godzilla. Like, I wasn't a big fan of this new Godzilla. They didn't have Godzilla in it enough, but it made enough money to make a second Godzilla. So for me, I was like, well, at least in the second Godzilla will actually be in it. So,
but I think
have
we
to wait
all
4
agree.
years.
But one of the things that all of us who saw Godzilla agree about is that we needed more Godzilla on the news footage. That's what that movie needed.
That's right.
It needed more news footage.
Cutaways, actually,
Yes,
right as
cutaways,
Godzilla was
news
about to do something, to cut away to something else,
It
like a kid eating a
increases the
sandwich.
dramatic tension, Schnepp.
Yeah, I was the tension when that kid eating the sandwich, when the Godzilla was trying to fight. The tension,
It was
if
palpable.
you could have seen the tension on my face, like anger was. That's what the word tension is, right? It's extreme disappointment and anger mixed together.
The full title of that movie was Godzilla, time permitting Godzilla. I actually loved Godzilla. I thought the
I liked
tension
it
buildup
too.
was great. I thought the
Cut away
ending
to
paid
they baby sleeping right when you're talking. We're doing a Godzilla thing. Right as you're about to finish what you're saying, cut away to a small child sleeping.
It builds tension. Now people want to know the rest of my statement, of which I don't know what I'm saying. I think Godzilla is a built-in franchise, and just like you said, the name that, like King Kong, anytime that comes out, it's going to be fine. I actually like the fact that they're delaying Godzilla so they can get a quality film. If you're delaying it a year and you get that year, oh man, we got to wait another year, but it's because you want to make the film better. Hopefully it's the same reason why Pacific Rim is taking so long to come out. That's the question that you would have is like, oh, are they just cranking out a sequel? I'd rather them take their time with it, with something like that, than just rush it out because they know it can be a cash grab. So Prometheus, I think, too, is kind of a franchise.
Do you think that Edwards is going to do that in the Star Wars movie? Like you're about to see, an X-wing flying towards something, and it's just going to cut away to somebody sleeping.
Now on the Imperial HoloNet, we cut away to this breaking story. All right, what's next?
Ice5 writes, I was watching your review of The Winter Soldier earlier, and you mentioned that it didn't feel like a superhero movie, but instead a film about a hero. I realized that idea is used lots. All of the best superhero movies seem to be described as not feeling like a superhero movie. Why does the term superhero movie seem to have such negative connotations?
I disagree completely. I mean, in my personal opinion, the first Avengers film is the greatest superhero movie ever made, and it is most definitively a superhero movie. It absolutely is. If you look at Iron Man, that's a superhero origins movie. If you look at Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2, definitively superhero movies. I don't think there's any negative connotation with that. I think one of the things that Winter Soldier did, though, it wasn't because it wasn't so much a superhero movie and it felt more like a movie about a hero, is that it was just a different change of pace from what we've been seeing in a lot of the Marvel stuff coming out so far. Even Man of Steel, as much as I love it, that is definitely a superhero movie. There's nothing wrong with that. It was just one of those things that stuck out to me. When I came out of watching Winter Soldier, I was so floored by the quality of that film and just how great it was, that it was in conversations with people who went, you know what? Thinking about it, it didn't even really feel like a superhero movie per se. It felt more like a movie just about a man who is a hero. And that was neither a negative or positive thing. It was just a really interesting thing that added another layer to that already incredible film. So I personally don't think there's any negative connotations about that. X-Men Days of Future Past, superhero movie. Spider-Man, superhero movie. Avengers, superhero movie. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Shep, what do you think?
No, I agree. And I think the reason Winter Soldier was used as like, it's like it's not a superhero movie because it had like this thriller aspect to it. Let's no bones about it. It's a superhero film. There's a Falcon flying around, Arnim Zola. There's a computer guy talking. I mean, every single 5 minutes, there's a superhero.
Nikki Styx is in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm saying, there's some hair metal about to explode inside of Winter Soldier.
Check that out,
Tommy. I'm in my rotating drum machine. Falcon's flying through it. No, I mean, it's a superhero film. It just had elements of a 70s thriller. Just like all the other films are like, hey, let's add a little of this flavor, that flavor. Winter Soldier successfully did it. And why it felt so different than all the other Marvel films to me is it did not have like a big bad villain that didn't really add up at the end. It actually had humans as the villain, as S.H.I.E.L.D. being Hydra. So that was the big villain of the end, was actually something that's tangible and not like, like Thor the Dark World, like a weird elf that grows really big and disappears at the end. Just like, why was he even in there? Sort of not the greatest villains. Marvel's had a few issues with like, not delivering on like the villain.
Yeah.
But Winter Soldier, it really delivered.
Yeah,
so.
and you were going against the government for a majority of that movie, and you're doing normal people things like they go to the mall and they have to drive to Jersey. And so when you have something like the Avengers, it's so much more bombastic and exciting and explosions and aliens and all that kind of cool stuff. But superhero movies, I think, get a negative connotation still to this day simply because people assume that they're made primarily for kids, for adolescents who just want to go into some fantasy world where that's not the case at all. I mean, we're all
that's called porn.
Adults, which is what I'd like to talk to you about now. Welcome to the lounge. It's called Rocket Raccoon. Different kind of movie. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's still definitely a superhero movie, and superhero movies are cool.
Shared universe, Rocket Raccoon and Rocket Robin Hood.
That's what we need.
That would work. I'd sign that up. All right, folks, that'll do it for us for this installment of AMC Movie News. Thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course, your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, make sure you look in the description of this video and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I want to thank, first of all, the guy sitting at the table with me, sitting over here, Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me at Instagram and at Twitter, just at John Schnepp and at TDOSLWH. Don't forget, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened comes out July 9th. You can start pre-ordering your digital copy tomorrow, June 9th.
MOTLEY CRUE's in his film, by the way. Everybody.
Shout at Superman. I think it's the Shout at Superman song. Shout at Superman. No, it's not.
Of course, sitting over here, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you?
Speaking of Motley Crue, you can catch me at 7th Fail, kids. I'll be sitting there at the VIP lounge later on tonight at 5150L. Yeah, 5150. It's from Van Halen, the band that Motley Crue really wish they could have been.
Oh, you 812?
At 5150L is on Twitter and Instagram. Get my album on iTunes. Get to the castle.
And of course, our lovely host today, I was going to say Sinead DeFries, but she's not here.
Miss Sinead DeFries.
Ashley Mova's here today, everybody. I'm so oblivious. Ashley,
Shout at the devil.
where can people find you?
Guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Ashley Mova. Happy Monday, guys.
And you can follow me on all the various social media channels. Just follow me at John Campia. That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is John Campia for AMC Movie News. And until next time, bye-bye.